Okay, 4L60E teardown. It's 12:01 p.m. right now. I just broke all these bolts loose so I don't freaking struggle with them, whatever. But it's 12:01. I'm gonna start ripping this thing apart and we'll see how long it takes to tear everything down to an empty case. So we'll start right meow. Start with the bell housing here. On your input shaft, you got a little O-ring here that you got to pull off, so we're gonna try to get that out right now. There goes that. Okay, and I got a little spare parts box here. Okay, now we're gonna go around the other side, pull the shifter cable bracket off. Get that sucker out of the way. It's two T40 Torx bolts. Okay. We're going to go do the extension housing now. It's a 15 mil. You get a little 15 mil on a swivel here. Come in. Oop. Bastard. Okay. Six bolts here. Okay, go down here. Ooh, these I might have to get out by hand. Yep. All right, let me do those real quick. Okay, that's out of the way. We're gonna pull our little side cover off here. 10 mil bolts. Okay. Pull that to the side. I got parts everywhere, guys. It's nuts in here right now. And these things like to stick. Oh, this one's free. Cool. All right, that makes my job way easier. This one here, oh my God, did I have a nightmare of a time. So this is your 2/4 servo. This applies your band for second and fourth gear. So you got a little snap ring here. This comes out, and you know, a common mod, y'all know these transmissions. You can put a Corvette servo in these, and it really improves your 1 to 2 shifts. So I'm gonna grab a pair of channel locks. I'll pop this guy off real quick, get that out of the way. I'm so happy this came apart. These things can be a pain. There's that O-ring there. Let me see if we can. All right, so I'm just gonna grab this guy here and just want to grip it and rip it, basically. Stretch this. There goes that. That's your fourth gear apply piston that just fell out on the ground, so that's going to go in here like that. It's imperative that you don't put this in backwards, otherwise you won't have fourth gear. But yeah, there's that servo pin. You got the 2/4 band in there, and you can't really see, but that's what pushes on your band and locks down the input drum to give you second and fourth gear. So talking about that servo, common mod, like I said, is the Corvette servo, and this is one I got lying around from friggin' Amazon of all places, and you could see that apply area for the second gear piston is just much larger, so it's going to give you that firmer shift. And in a truck with 200,000 miles, if you do a lot of towing and stuff, that's actually a good upgrade to help keep your transmission alive. So we're going to ditch this and go with that Corvette servo, and that'll help this thing shift on down the road better, grab some gears and whatnot. But yeah, that's the stock servo. That's the Corvette servo. Okay, so now we're going to take our shift lever off. So got to be careful with this, especially in the rust belt. So we're going to put this back in park here. Try and knock this off. I might end up just leaving this on for now. Yeah. That thing is really on there. All right. So there we go. Jeez. I can really fight there. All right, we're gonna pull our range sensor off now, and you got to be careful with these because when the rust builds up, it can actually makes it a hard time getting it off of the shift selection shaft. Like, see, yeah, this one's stuck. So I'm going to leave it alone for now. It doesn't really have to come off, but to change the seal inside, so we're going to do that later. I'm just going to leave that on so I don't have to fight it. Okay, so we're going to spray some PB on the range sensor here. Very common. These will get, like, you know, packed full of rust here, and it'll be hard to slide the shaft or the sensor off the shaft, so you just want to be careful not to break it. You could leave it on there, but there's a seal in there you want to change, so I'm going to soak it in PB for now, and then we'll get that off later. But so other than that, everything externally is removed, so I'm going to go ahead and flip this over and start taking the pan and the valve body off. Okay, there's that trans pan coming off. And as you guys saw from my story the other day, if you paid attention, you can see this thing's definitely got a case of the, I call it the Black Death. You know, the fluid's definitely burn up. So I'm anticipating, you know, a lot of the clutches are going to be smoked, but you know, we won't know until we get into it, which is actually going to be very soon. So I'm going to work on getting this harness unplugged. Got to try and be careful with these connectors because they get brittle. You could replace the harness, but honestly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, that one's, this one. I think they call this the EPC, like the electronic pressure control solenoid. Jeez, wow, that connector really, oh, there it goes. All right, so now we got to take this 10 mil off here. So we got to pull this solenoid off right here. This is your, I believe this is your 3-2 solenoid. So we got to pull this solenoid out here so we can get the TCC solenoid there. We got to get that out. We're going to drape the harness over. Then we're going to take the valve body out. So stay with me for that. Okay, so to pull that solenoid out, you just got a little clip here. So you just go in here, all willy-nilly. Just pry that guy up. Be careful because these things will freaking fly and then you'll be screaming. So there's that solenoid. And we got 10 mil. Come in here real quick. We'll find out later. So there's the 2 bolts. I'm gonna throw my clip and my bolts in the parts box. And see, this solenoid is offset, so you don't have to worry about anything coming out there. So we can actually put this solenoid in the parts box along with the clip. And this solenoid comes out like that. And then, now that we got everything unplugged, we're just going to drape the harness off to the side for now. So now for the valve body, you're going to leave these bolts here. These 3 come out. This just holds your pressure switch manifold to your valve body, so you can leave those there. But you got 8 mils and 10 mils. Now these 8 mils here are important that you put them back in the right spot because they're different lengths. So if you put longer bolts there, it's going to hit your internals inside the transmission. So just pay attention where this stuff comes from and put it back in the right spot. Okay, I'm going to start taking the valve body out. So right now we're 19 minutes into this. And I am not a wizard like some of these guys you see on Facebook, YouTube. I'm just a dude doing this stuff in my garage because I want to learn, you know. So, you know, you see the pros do it. These guys are insane. They freaking knock these things out so fast. It's nuts. But it's like I said, oop, missed that bolt there. Gotta take that guy off. Okay, now we gotta switch. We gotta grab our 8 mil socket. So we're gonna put that there. Take this guy off. It's tricky to do this one-handed. I really need to get a camera mount or something for this. That would be really cool. Hey, look. Our detent spring popped the valve body up for us. So we're actually going to pull the detent spring bolt off now. Get that out of the way. Okay. Okay, don't lose the bolt. Don't want to lose the bolts. Okay, throw that in the box. And then we'll just keep all the bolts in the valve body, and then we'll lift that up. So I'll try to do this one-handed. There it goes. Your check balls are going to go all willy-nilly, but don't worry about it. We'll figure out where they all go later, okay? So I got to find a spot to set this guy, and then we'll get further into it in a second. Okay, so looking at our check balls here, this is the 3/4 check ball that usually gets hammered into the separator plate, but it actually, this trans was rebuilt before, and they put an enlarged check ball in there, so that's good. So we got this one. There's 7 of them that go in from the bottom here. You know, this would be the bottom in the vehicle. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Jeez. Okay, we're gonna throw those in there. 2 more, and then your last one's right here. I gotta grab a magnet for that. So, or let me see if I can weasel that thing on up with a flathead. This is tricky. Okay, there's that. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull the stiffener plate off and the accumulator, and then we can get the separator plate out, and parking pawl will go next, and then we'll be completely done with the bottom side of the transmission. Then we could pull the pump out and then just start pulling all the guts out of it. And right now we're at 23 minutes. Okay, so our stiffener plate's out. Here's our accumulator, and then if you ever slam a trans in park while it's still rolling and it just makes a bunch of racket, it really doesn't hurt anything. It's just kind of like a spring-loaded pin. You're not going to blow anything up. So they design these for, I don't know, yahoos. So they don't, you know, it's not going to blow the freaking trans apart. So, but yeah, this is the stiffener plate. Pull that out and set it in the box. Here's our accumulator, and I got to pay attention here. Okay, so you got our accumulator piston, and it looks like they did put a metal one in there, which is that's a nice little bonus. So I'm gonna set this in the transmission pan. So we'll set that down there, let that drain. We'll pull our separator plate off. There's our separator plate. Set that aside, and then our separator plate to case gasket. Hey, it's coming apart in one piece. That's cool. All right, so there's that, and you don't want to throw anything away because you always want to make sure you can match up the new stuff with the old stuff. So, all right, and there's your, I got to drain some of the fluid out of this, but there's your other accumulator. So we're going to pull this park linkage out, and then a couple other things, the electrical harness and band anchor right here. Then we can pull the pump out and start taking all the guts out. So I just about got the neutral safety out, and this one's giving me a heck of a time. So when you come in here, there's a 15 mil nut that you see drop down there that rides on the shaft and kind of holds everything together. And then you got a little clip. The clip rides on the shaft right here to give you the spacing for your like detent plate. So you take that nut off, clip falls down, and then what I'm hoping to do is just slide this shaft out here with the neutral safety on it, so I don't, you know, screw it up with the rust. So working on that right now, and then we're pretty much done underneath the transmission, if that makes sense. All right, not gonna lie, y'all, that shift shaft really fought me there, but we're past it now. So now we're ready to pull the pump bolts out. So we're gonna do that real quick. Pump bolts do have a little O-ring here that rides in that little groove. So you want to make sure you replace those O-rings, rebuild these. Now we're about to get fluid everywhere. So usually what I like to do is come in and just gently pry the pump, and wow, all right, it's gonna slide right out. Maybe not. There we go. There we go. Almost. Oh, I think it's pulling the drum out with it. So, God, this is awkward trying to do this with one hand. I'm trying to show you guys everything that goes on in here so you can see kind of what's happening and how it works. I cut my hand open there, but I guess I'm good. Whoa! Don't drop the pump, whatever you do. Don't drop the pump. All right, so we're gonna set that pump right here. And then out comes, well, we can take the band anchor out, but we gotta turn the trans on its side. Let's see if we can just get that out all willy-nilly. Here's a little thrust washer that goes on the back of the pump. Kind of concerned with how this is, I think the drum actually just slid off the shaft, so maybe we're okay. I'm gonna get this band anchor out real quick, then we could slide the band out and then get everything else out without it putting up a fight. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I've been working on this snap ring for the past 25 minutes and I finally got it. So now we can knock the output shaft out and take the rest of the guts out of the case. And yes, before somebody says something, I do have the right pair of pliers. So I got these. Those are not for transmission snap rings, but I'm gonna get another pair from Snap-on that has like where the hooks are offset, and that'll help me greatly because that is about rage-inducing. All right, there's that output shaft laying on the bench. Now we're gonna pull the sun shell out with the planetary. I guess we can pull the planetary out first. So here's your planetary gear set. Here's the sun shell. Here's your reaction shaft. There's a thrust washer that goes on the bottom of the sun shell. And now we have another snap ring we got to pull out. All right, there's that snap ring there. I'm going to turn the case on the side and I'm going to pull the forward sprag out. So there's that right there. This is a one-way clutch. And then there's another planetary back there. So there's that sprag. So it's gonna let the shaft turn one way but not the other. We'll set that aside. Here's another planetary. And then this is your forward clutch. Set all this stuff aside. Right here, where is it? This is your anti-rattle clip. Very important that that goes back in there, otherwise this thing will start making a bunch of noise. So all I got to do now, this transmission is 99% disassembled. I just got to get my compressor tool and pull this piston return spring out. This is your forward clutch piston, and we just got to compress that, pull the snap ring out, and this transmission will be pretty much fully disassembled. So, and then we could pull our input drums apart, check the clutches and everything, and do a rebuild. So this is that Amazon special piston return spring compressor. So it's going to sit down in the case like this, and it's going to catch that snap ring groove. It's kind of tricky to set this up here. So we're going to run this down, and that's going to compress that piston, I mean that spring there, and then we can pull that snap ring out of the case. So focus. So this is your that's your forward clutch apply piston. So that's going to move forward, and that's going to smash down this clutch, which is going to hold your forward planetary, and that's going to make your truck go down the road. You can see we got our spring compressed. Now we just got to pop that snap ring out. So now that we have the snap ring out, there's our piston return spring. And you notice it's got a little groove that actually locks that snap ring in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take some air and blow it in to that channel, and it'll pop the piston out. There goes that. I'll pull it out of the case. And there you go. That's the Ford clutch apply piston. So basically you just have two sealing rings on the surface here, and when fluid pressure goes into that port right there, it just pushes that forward and clamps down on that clutch pack and makes your truck go down the road. So the case is now fully disassembled. Now we'll start the inspection. I'm going to pull apart the input housing and then go from there. But it looks like, you know, this is like successful teardown. Looks like we don't have any hard part failure. Looks like I'm going to need a Torrington bearing here. I may be mistaken there. I'll do some research on that, but I think that piece is supposed to be attached to that Torrington bearing. So we'll see on that, but yeah, overall not too bad. It's 1:41, and I started this at what was it, 12:02, so an hour and 39 minutes. So had some minor hang-ups, but not bad considering this is the second one I've ever done. So yeah, stay tuned. We're going to rip this apart and just do a general inspection. Okay, so I started taking my input housing apart. Just got a snap ring here, and as y'all can see, this is your 3/4 clutch, and it's just absolutely smoked. Like here's a friction, and there's just nothing left on it. It's actually waved here, which I'm not sure if that's supposed to be, but yeah, this thing's just absolutely obliterated. So another thing I noticed that's weird, in this 4L60E I rebuilt right here in the input housing, you're supposed to have little return springs in here that split this apart. You know, it kind of spreads it out. And this doesn't have any return springs. So I don't know if somebody, whoever rebuilt this, screwed it up, but that's not right. But so you can kind of see how this works here. If you come to the front of the drum, you have 3 fluid passways right there. Here's one hole, there's another hole, and there's the third one. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. And what those do is you shoot different, you know, for different gears, you know, you have your fluid actually comes into the shaft, and there's 3 different channels inside the shaft, and those channels are going to apply your pistons in here. So one piston's right here. You can see the forks. That's what clamps down. It actually goes right here on this apply plate right here. Clamps down the clutch for that. And so that's your 4th gear piston, and then you have a couple other clutches. I think your engine brake clutch and your overrun. No expert here, I'm just learning. But yeah, this thing's just absolutely smoked. I'm gonna have to order those return springs. I don't know, since this is an 06 trans, I know they got some updates. I don't know if they left those out on purpose or what, but I'm gonna do some research on that. But failure analysis, so gotta love it. So I'm pretty sure this is your engine brake clutch from what I remember. That one looks pretty good. This is another deal. I don't remember, I don't know what all this stuff's called yet. You know, I'm not an expert. I'm just a novice in my garage, but this second clutch pack here looks pretty good. So yeah, overall this thing doesn't look bad. Got another Sprague clutch in here, so bushings look okay. So I'm gonna do a little bit more inspection. Forward clutch looks good, and then I'm gonna take apart the reverse clutch here. And so what I'll probably end up doing, I got to pull the pump apart to make sure the pump looks okay. But what I'll probably end up doing is just putting a basic kit in it, you know, new frictions, steels. We'll go through the valve body, see what's going on with that. But no hard part failure. That's really cool. I got to inspect my planetaries and all that stuff, and my sun shell and all that. But overall, this looked like a pretty healthy unit that just suffered a 3/4 clutch failure. but we got to figure out why. So we'll dig deeper into this later. I got to get ready to go to a Christmas party, but I don't know, not too bad. Less than 2 hours for ripping this whole thing apart. Can't really complain there. So, but yeah, that's it for the teardown, and I don't know, maybe sometime this week we'll put it all back together. And here's the last thing I wanted to inspect for now is the pump. And it looks like pump body looks pretty good. No scoring or anything on there. Look at the veins and all that. Yeah, this thing I think it might be okay. Veins don't look like they're tore up or anything, so yeah, I'm pretty stoked. Yeah, it just looks like 3-4 clutch pack failure, and everything else, we're just going to refresh it. Really, all we got to do is look at the valve body. But God, all the bushings in here look good. I checked the planetary, sun shell looks good. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked, so I'm going to order a kit for this. Oh, here's the reverse clutch too, so y'all can see that. Same deal. I got to order a compressor so I can compress these return springs, because the one that I have is just for the case for the forward clutch piston, and it doesn't work with these drums. So I got to order or make a compressor so I can compress these drums and take them apart. Last time I did it, I just pushed this down in my hands. My hands get all cramped up, and that was not a good time. So yeah, I'm gonna order a kit for this thing, and should be ready to rip.